Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching us from, and thank you for tuning in. Welcome back to yet another episode of Unprepared to Entrepreneur, the channel that brings you real, raw, and often untold stories of entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Anne Mogia, and we still have Sam in the studio. And we are diving into, I think if you watched our last episode, if you haven't, please go back. We spoke about what is stopping you. We looked at the barriers that either your mind has created or that actually exist that are stopping you from going and going after your dreams and achieving them. And I felt like it's very important for us to also dive into sales and marketing. Why sales and marketing? I feel like sales is the lifeline of your business. Most businesses fail because of this one key factor, and I think it wouldn't be fair if we, pushed you to start and then you start and you don't know how to get your customers in. So I am very excited to have this conversation with Sam. I'll allow him to introduce himself again for those who have maybe missed the other episode. And then we proceed. Karibu sana, Sam.
Thank you.
Today we are spending the whole day together, which I love.
Thank you, Anne.
Karibu.
Like you said, my name's Sam Wanyoike. I'm a father. I am a business person, specifically in the laundry business space. I am associated with a company called allmylaundry.com. And more recently, I'm a business coach. I engage with that alongside my colleagues, where we sort of like help business owners to either get in or enhance their laundry businesses. So we do that on the laundry business learning platform. So it's a delight to be back. I love the work you're doing and can't wait to jump in.
Let's dive right into it. I think we were just catching up. Again, please watch the other episode because there's a Maruti story that you don't want to miss. And I just asked him, how long did you drive that Maruti before, let's say, giving that driver role to somebody else?
Okay.
And it's interesting that you said 5 years. And I'm telling him that takes a lot of discipline because most of us probably want to start a business and we quickly get to the role of managerial where now other people, you're instructing other people to take over some of the tasks. I can't wait to get into the conversation of sales. Personally, as Anne, sales has been the most challenging thing to execute and execute consistently. So it always feels like I have good days, then a couple of bad days, then a good day, and then it's almost like it's so hard to bring in sales consistently. As you observe churn, because some of the ones you bring will fall off, and then you like basically how do you create this wheel that keeps bringing you more and more sales every month on month, so that even when some fall off, the business does not suffer. For me, it has been the greatest challenge, and I know for most of my audience as well. And I'm hoping this will give us like a little bit more insight.
Right.
So let's start from the beginning.
Yes.
How did you make your first sale?
The first sale goes back to my landlord when I was still a bachelor, a young man. And I was staying somewhere in Umoja, and he just became this friend. So every time, it was those days when you'd pay your rent, say you deposit it in a bank, then you take the bank slip, to the landlord's office, and you'd have a quick interaction either with his receptionist or with. So I recall at the time we were in transition. We had started talking about venturing into the laundry space, but we had not started. Then on this instance, when I'm dropping off my rental slip, I meet him and we are chatting in his office. And he asks me, hey, how is work at my former place of work? So even though I had not formally left, I created the impression that I had already gotten involved in this laundry business.
Like it was already set up.
It was already up and running. Like it even had systems.
Yes.
So I tell him, I left. In fact, now I'm in the laundry business, but we are doing it different. He asked, what do you mean by different? I told him, we come to your home, we pick it up, we clean it, we drop it back after a day or two, and all these at the same price that you're getting with your current cleaner, if not better.
If not better.
And I threw a few quotes just from the top of my mind. The whole time we have nothing. There was nothing.
There was nothing.
Just hot air.
It was just an idea.
It was
at this point in time.
hot air. Yeah, hot air. So he cuts me off. He like, even before I could articulate what we are doing, he just interrupts what I'm saying. And he was a businessman, and he was also involved in construction. So sometimes he would go to one of his sites and he would have a change of clothes. So he had this jacket and trouser under his desk, very dusty from his site visits. So he just picked the set, flung it at me, told me, now instead of telling me stories about the way your
Please
laundry
offer
business,
the service.
show me.
Yeah, show me.
Let me see it. So I told him, you'll see it. And I stepped out. And I remember a guest you had on your show who was talking about business being 99% confidence. Yes. So I stepped out.
with confidence?
Yeah, I know that thing they say about entrepreneurship and the analogy around a duck floating on water, yet under the water it's kicking like crazy. So at the time I was frantic. Like, shoot, what is this promise you've made?
Yeah.
And he was a fairly astute businessman. Very, yeah, so I crossed the street, picked out 2-3 laundries, compared prices, settled for one. I asked them if I can have the suit the following day. And they said they could. And that's exactly how that suit was cleaned. So following day I come back, I pick it up. But now the supplier has this packaging. They have their own brand on the, so I can't take that
on the bag.
On the bag.
Yeah.
So I cannot take that to my landlord.
Yes.
Or my first customer.
Your first customer. You know you've not set up.
He'll know this guy is just playing games.
Yes.
Like I'm paying him to take a 5-minute walk across the road.
Yes.
So I walked down. It was in town. It was in CBD. So I walked down to Koja. There's a guy who used to sell polythene packaging down just near Koja. I pick up a set, and I made sure I pick a set because this was a sign for me that this actually is a real need.
Yeah.
So I folded it nicely, delivered it to him. He paid in cash.
Yeah.
I didn't even have change to.
Oh, you didn't ask to be paid first.
No.
You spent your money.
Yes. Yes. So delivered it. He settled, and as he settled, he had another ready suit to go. That was my first sale.
Did you make money?
No.
That sale?
No, I want to say I did. I think the margin was 20-30 shillings before
30 shillings.
Before packaging.
Before
Just the cost of cleaning.
What was the cost of the packaging?
The packaging, you see now we would buy it in sets. We would buy it in bundles of sets where you'd have suit bags, you'd have dress bags, and so on and so forth. So we'd buy it in bulk. So I don't know, I might have made maybe 100 shilling loss or something like that.
So now you had an inventory of a couple of bags, extra bags for future expected sales.
And a receipt I could say, sale to customer number 001.
001. How did that feel? How did that make you feel? Especially because it was before the setup.
Well, I had tried different hustles before. Even growing up, you tried different hustles. But nothing quite as intentionally as this. So this for me was quite validating. You feel very validated, but at the same time scared in the same context. And they say that's what the leap of faith that is entrepreneurship is all about. You have to feel excited about it, but at the same time super scared.
Super scared,
so if you're not scared, it's probably not worth it. So that's what it felt. And he was also the kind of person who, if you do a good job, he would certainly recommend it to somebody else.
To somebody else.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's how we picked up the first sale. Yeah.
We call that beginner's luck. Did you, let's talk about like customers who came after him. Was it as easy, an easy yes? Because that feels like a really easy yes. It's like now you're selling me your services and literally I give you a job immediately. So just basically take us through the journey from that first sale to, let's say, first branch.
Okay.
So that I feel like different lessons come about in different levels of the business or stages of the business. So between that and your first branch, how did you grow your sales pipeline to make sure you're generating enough sales for you to keep growing?
Got it. So that was sale number one. Picked up one or two referrals from him. When we started with my co-founder, we both had this list of immediate friends and family. So the people you will hang out with, whether you are formally employed or you are doing other things. So we had a long list. And you call them up and you tell them, this is what I'm doing now. Maybe you text them. That time tech was not where it is right now. So you text them a few sample prices. By then you've done your homework with existing cleaners, so you know what they are charging you on the back end. And for your audience who may not have seen the earlier session, we started with a pure outsourcing model, meaning we were collecting the laundry and outsourcing it to a third party. So we needed to know ahead of time, this is what we will be charged for a suit, for a duvet, and so on and so forth. So that when we are quoting amongst our list of friends, we know exactly what to quote. Sadly, the response was lackluster, I would say. So the people you hang out with will not necessarily be the ones who like take your business from 0 to 1. So some will, many won't.
Many won't.
And I've also heard you speak to that fact where people will encourage you and tell you, yeah, we're going to support you. If it's your show, we'll show up for interviews. But when it comes to the actual doing, the actualizing, it's not always the same. And that's exactly what happened even for us. So within those first initial prospects, again, with my co-founder, depending on where we were picking that laundry, we would do a couple of things. We experimented with so many tactics, strategies, you call it. So
take us through those tactics. Take us through the one that flopped.
I'm actually very interested in those ones. The successes are not even a big deal.
Yeah, me too. I'm interested in that conversation.
We tried. First, we printed thousands and thousands of flyers and pamphlets and brochures. And I know you have stories for days. Yeah? You know that person who stands at the traffic lights and just dishing.
Haven't we all done that?
Yeah. Did a lot of that. We would drive, like if you are living in Kileleshwa, for example, as we completed your delivery, we would make sure you have pamphlets to issue to your neighbors. And sometimes even to the askari. We would even sometimes retain a caretaker with a promise of a small incentive, a commission.
Didn't work.
Lots and lots.
Why do you think that didn't work?
It did not work because of the nature of the service, I would say. And even using a few other examples that I can share with you of examples of advertising that we've explored, you will establish that laundry is a very personal service. I like to think it as something that features in the same bucket as things like your stylist, your hairdresser, the person who does your nails, the spa, and so on and so forth. It's a very intimate service. And for those reasons, if you're going to connect with your audience, you want that messaging to be extremely personalized. It has to connect with that person at a personal level. So Anne may move from one cleaner or one laundry to another based on, say, for example, a very strong recommendation from somebody she trusts, or she's moving or she's looking for a new supplier because her current service provider really messed up. So it's very personal. And we feel pamphlets and brochures, yes, they build awareness, but they're not at that level where I'll see it like this and I'll say, I think I like it. No.
Brand awareness, your logo and your company is familiar, but that's it.
That's it.
In terms of conversion.
Absolutely.
It's also very hard to measure conversion. I came because I saw your flyer.
Unless you're intentional within your organization that at the first sign up, when the customer comes for the first time, you actually engage in that conversation. And you ask them, as you're booking their order, their first order, you're asking them, how did you get to hear about us?
I see.
Yes. So, and those are things we really coach, both on the learning platform and on our laundry for new staff. We really coach them. When the person comes, you want to establish how do they get to know about your service. So flyers
X.
Tried that. We also got into forums. You see, like now, if you go to these shopping malls, there are notice boards where you can advertise your stuff. You pay,
I see, like the board at Sarit Center, for example. And
Tried
they charge
all that.
you a fee.
charge you something.
Yeah.
The Maruti that you described, it was well branded, written, bringing the dry cleaning store to you with some bubbles
Yes.
and things.
Yes, yes.
And also it had our contact. I can tell you stories of how some days when there are no orders coming through the door, it's just crickets on the phone. We would take that Kamaruti, park it somewhere where we imagined there's high visibility. So like you'd find it parked at Kencom, at the bus stop.
You're looking at high
See,
traffic.
High traffic. If it's some of these upmarket locations, go place it somewhere. Placement. But like I said, awareness is one thing. Money in Anne's pocket.
Totally different.
Completely different animal. So again, we kept chipping at it. We also experimented with incentivizing friends and family. Like if you send us somebody, your one free duvet will be cleaned for you. Small things like those.
Yeah.
And again, all those had very mixed responses, but nothing that you can say this is a solid return on investment, or this is something that is sustainable in the long term.
Because sometimes I wonder, like on that last point, let's say for example, I bring my duvet and you charge me what, let's say 1,000 to launder it, and then as a person who's willing to pay 1,000, 1,500 for the duvet, your margins are X%, so the money really you have left to pay me as an incentive, I might not see it as an incentive. It's just neither here nor there.
Absolutely. You see, when you're starting, at that point, actually, we say when you're starting, objectives vary as you grow. At that point, top objective is survival.
Survival.
We are not pushing for profit. We are not pushing for growth or consolidation.
Just surviving.
Survive. Make it to the next month.
To the next day.
The next day.
Yes.
The next client.
Yes.
I can't tell you the number of times you'd go deliver at Anne's and you're really hoping she'll have her payment ready. So that you use that money to fuel the van so that you make it to the next delivery. Like it was that thin. It was that tight.
Wow.
It's survival.
Literally.
Yes. So equally, when you're thinking of marketing in that circumstance or those early days, you'd have to be really thoughtful around where is it I'm placing my money.
Yes.
And how sure am I? What's the likelihood of
getting an ROI?
Getting the money by getting the ROI.
Yes.
Another, you asked about failures. There are many. There is a time we took out an ad in a magazine called Eve.
Eve magazine.
I
remember Eve magazine.
An agent came and put the fear of Jesus Christ in me and said, this is where
you should go.
This is where the ladies are. So I take out a strip of the image of the Maruti delivering clothes and a big tagline. We got 2 calls. One was a job applicant.
Not even a customer.
No, job applicant. That's the first call. The other one, I think, was a friend who knew the business. They said, keep it up.
Oh, to congratulate you. I saw you on Eve magazine.
That time, that strip, that placement is, I think it must have been like 40, 50,000. We couldn't pay for it. That sales agent hounded me for days. We couldn't pay for it.
Ouch.
Yeah, because you take it out with a certain expectation. And it took a very, very long time for us to settle that account.
To settle that, yes.
And we learned our lesson.
Yes.
As far as print advertisement is concerned. But it's not to say that it's not useful. That advertising is very useful.
It is.
In fact, I have a good friend, you might know him. He's called William Kalombo. He runs a magazine called Marketing Africa. And again, a very tested entrepreneur, a guy I really respect. And through our relationships from those days, there's a time he told me, Sam, I know you're in the laundry business. Just send me something I can offer you some space on my magazine. And he ran our ad, complimentary, for a very long time. And I would go to his events and other events and introduce myself And people will be like, yeah, we know that brand.
Yeah, we know that
So
brand.
people know the brand.
Awareness is one thing,
Yes.
conversion is completely a totally different animal.
That's the thing. So those were early days, and those are just examples of things that we experimented with. I remember an instance in Nyayo Estate, Embakasi, where we did the same thing. We went, we would go under the guise that we are delivering laundry, even when we don't have any laundry, we are delivering. And if the askari allowed us through the gate, you know Nyayo Estate, Embakasi, it's very densely populated.
Yes, it is.
So for us, those were estates of interest.
Yes.
So we would go and then start from the top floor for the apartment blocks. You're knocking on doors. And whatever door is opened, we'd tell either the lady of the house or the domestic manager, we were in the building, we were delivering laundry, take a look at our service in case you ever need it. So in this instance, we find the lady of the house. And we tell her this is what we do. We were just dropping off laundry for your neighbor. And she's like, oh, you're godsend. In fact, there's a pile of mzee's suits here. Mtoke mfanya nini? Mwende nazo. And I'm telling my co-founder, I told you, we are on it.
Let me imagine the math that's going on in the background. How many houses are at Nyayo Estate? I think there are about 2,000 or thereabout. So 2,000 homes.
Yes.
Apply a percentage in terms of market share that you could get.
Yes. This is just one homestead.
And it's validating your your thought process.
We drew up because those days we were manually booking the receipt. It's not like now when tech has. We booked the order, maybe like 3-4 receipts. It was quite a bunch of laundry. We give her the receipt. When you tell her, you get it in 48 hours. On the way out, the askari tells us you cannot leave. The house has called. Apparently, turns out, she spoke to the husband. The husband asked her, what have you done? Given those clothes to whom?
Oh my gosh. I thought you guys were about
like,
to
who
make
did I
money.
marry? What are you talking about?
Do you know them? Have you ever heard of them? Have you seen them
Like,
anywhere?
they just showed up, told you what they do, you gave them the suits. Maruti.
Oh no!
Maruti gave back the clothes, cancelled the order.
Oh no! You did not anticipate that being a challenge.
And we continue distributing a few more.
Telling them, oh, we were
just delivering. But it's true, we had delivered. We just didn't mention we had also picked.
You are returning, not delivering. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so there you go. To my point around, it's a very personalized
service.
Very personalized.
Yes.
You have to have some element of trust that has been built in over time. And there's many more examples of attempts to just get through the door that really backfired.
So did Nyayo Estate eventually come around?
It did, but not through that channel. It was not through us just showing up. No. It came, we started getting residents from that side of town, now through referral, through references, through people who had actually tested the service and said, these guys are good they're good on their service.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There are many of those where you look on kwa kitabu when you're in your room or in your Maruti. In this case, when you're thinking of how you can get in some sales, kwa kitabu it looks very good,
very viable,
straightforward, viable.
You know that time you're even looking at models that have been tested elsewhere, like in other countries.
Yes.
And you're seeing like in the West how some places, in fact, in some of those organized communities.
Yeah.
Same way you leave out the trash bag. The trash bag is here, the laundry bag is here.
It looks straightforward.
You just come and pick. Yeah. In fact, there's no need for interaction with your client.
Yeah. And then you start and kwa ground vitu ni different.
Totally.
So, before you get to referrals, you must have the first client.
Correct.
So how is that season for you?
The season was friends and family. I want to say we leaned a lot on immediate, like close friends. Like I know at the time my sister was working in the insurance space. So she had a lot of material in terms of how they would approach their sales process. They had content around how they booked appointments. It was very clear. There were like 5 logical steps. They had content around how you book, how you secure appointments, how you make presentations, how you close the sale, and also from after the sale, how you secure the referral, how you secure the lead, and then the cycle.
So that becomes the most important step for you.
Yes, which one?
Well, actually, all of them.
All of them are critical.
All of them are critical.
Super critical.
Yeah.
Like you can't have a complete sales process without that sequence. You have to secure. I have to first put myself in front of you. The mode or the channel is irrelevant. It could be social media, it could be in person, it could be anything. But the appointment needs to be secured.
Yes.
Then after that, the presentation. And then after that, we make the sale. We close it.
Yes.
Then after we've closed it, we ask for a referral.
You must delight that customer.
Absolutely.
For you then to...
Absolutely. So once we saw what was happening, and for someone who had come from a formal employment setting, I was an accountant, a very introverted role. I would those days I would interact with my colleagues. Now I'm dating myself through the pigeonhole. You remember the pigeonholes?
Yes.
Do you know the pigeonholes are? So
I think so. Those...
Yes. So you'd leave a message, like a pay slip at the end of the month.
Yes.
Like that was the mode
Yes.
of
Yes. And
communicating.
suppliers.
And suppliers.
Most of the time you're telling them the check is not ready. That's
So
as far as the
coming
connection
from a point where you're half the time you are connecting with people on the phone and that kind of communication, and then now moving to a situation where if you don't sell, you can't make the bills, you can't make rent, you can't make things like those. That's like a total shift. So the incentive to sell was up there. The motivation was up there.
Yeah.
And in some way, I want to say the accounting background helped to the extent that you look at data and you're quickly able to isolate what is important,
what is
yes,
not.
yes. So we'd pick out who are the clients who are sending us bulk, like large baskets of laundry. We would also isolate where do we normally go and there's the biggest overhead in terms of cost. So you could be getting a very generous load of laundry, but it's far out.
Yes. So
Or it's erratic.
The logistics are
The logistics,
expensive.
exactly. And that allowed us now to say, even as we go about this brokerage, because that time it was brokerage, even as we go through this brokerage, we know that by the 3rd, 5th year, when we get to the point where we are deciding around a location, a physical location,
Yes.
it's likely,
This
based on the
will
data,
be important.
based on this data, it's likely to be
Absolutely.
this
I
part,
see that.
this
Yeah.
part of town. So that's what we did. We zeroed in on those clients, and then by association, we also tested the hypothesis or the assumption that if these people are cleaning in bulk, there's a good chance their immediate circle also cleans in similar patterns. And that's what happened. We also encountered people, and I think I might have seen an earlier guest of yours who spoke to, you attend to one client, but you don't know, behind the scenes, they also happen to be a HR manager somewhere. Then they call you for work, wherever they are. So we also experienced quite a bit of that. You clean for somebody, then they tell you, oh, by the way, I work at this and that hotel. Or my auntie runs a restaurant.
Hotels, cleaning for hotels in your radar in terms of the customers you were targeting? Or that just...
When we were starting, anyone that carries or uses a garment in any context.
That was your target?
In any context.
That was your target market?
So whether your garment is what you're wearing on your back, or it's the bed sheet you use for your guests in your laundry, or it's the carpet you lay out in some tented camp in Masai Mara, whatever that looked like. If it was a garment, we were available to clean it. So now the challenge on our part was now to establish back-end support. So people who would be able to, in a very professional way, deliver that experience to the client.
That experience to the client.
Yeah.
Because if they disappoint you, you end up disappointing
Absolutely.
your customer.
Absolutely.
Did that happen?
Yeah, that early stage allowed us now to see which parts of the city are attracting what kinds of customers, what kinds of fabrics are they sending you, and then so that in the event that 3-4 years down the road you want to set up a location, which kind of location would work. And I guess that's part of the thought process that informed our location 1, which we set up in Upper Hill. Okay.
You said something so interesting. What kind of fabrics that those customers are sending you? Can I ask you to share more? Like fabric, what do you mean? Like
I mean textile is very broad. So there are clients who will give you their personal wear. There are clients who will give you their linen, meaning your beddings, your bed sheets, pillowcases, and so on, and towels, bath towels, hand towels. There are also clients who will give you institutional kind of linen.
I see.
So, for example, if you're dealing with things like county governments, the state, you'll find a lot of skirtings for their events.
I see.
And all those come with different dynamics in terms of how you're going to process them. So the kind of equipment you have, and even the kind of competencies as far as staff are concerned. So yeah, so once you've done a few months, a few years of running around, you get to see this kind of garments are coming from this side. So and then the other thing, the other piece to that is, if for example you have a client on Mombasa Road, say somewhere towards Mlolongo, for example, who has certain linen, are you better served by an established laundry that is on that side, that is located on that side? And we were able to establish contacts on that side, where instead of now taking garments, bringing them all the way back to the CBD, it would be a quick drive to that neighborhood. So those were early attempts to get our name out. But I want to say a huge chunk of it was after we've cleaned for you.
Yes.
Would invite you to recommend. And I want to say that's the one that appeared to have the most traction, as opposed to this other where you just raise a flyer or a billboard.
Driving around the Maruti, knocking on doors.
That worked, but it is nothing compared to that client who says, I've actually used Anne's service.
Yes.
And this was my experience.
This was my experience.
Yes. And I think you need to try it.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. So I remember you and I joking about the early days when we'd have very, very few clients, and you're trying to extract referrals from all of them, and it feels like you last spoke to this one 3 weeks ago, but it's only 3 days ago. It's only 3 days ago.
If you call them again, they start to feel like you're harassing them.
Not like harassing.
You
it's
are
harassment.
harassing them.
It's harassment.
You are harassing them.
It's harassment.
Yeah.
It is sales by
You're
by
so
fire.
desperate for a sale.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And then we had within that structure that I described, where you have appointments, presentation, and so on and so forth, we had a column for leads and for actual sales. So between my co-founder and I, we would compare notes. And you don't want to be the one at the end of the week who has 2 and the other person has 20.
10
yes.
or 20.
Yes.
Yeah.
The only way to up your metrics
Yes.
is to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone and close that sale.
And close that sale.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of telemarketing initially. Tech was not where it is today, I keep saying. But as time moved on, as those clients recommended the service to other people, it became much easier. Much easier. So that was the transition from the
start.
Yeah.
The Maruti season to the first branch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did it transition, or did anything change between now branch number 1 and branch number 2? Maybe how long did that take between Upper Hill and your next branch, which you say didn't perform very well?
Yes, yes.
So let's go from 1 to 3.
I want to say 1 to 3 happened within a space of 4 or 5 years. You see, location, if you get the ingredients right, and we talk about that on the coaching platform. If you go through that checklist that allows you to be able to predict this location is likely to be profitable.
Yes.
If all those elements are respected, then your marketing is taken care of. Meaning you have the visibility, you have, it's accessible to the client, you're able to open longer hours, because in laundry, even 20, 30 minutes adjustment in opening and closing time.
Yes, makes a whole
It's a
lot of
really big
difference.
deal. It's a really, really big deal.
So are you saying if you're looking to open a laundry business, getting the location right is half the battle?
Probably more than half.
More than half?
Probably more than half, but you can say it is half because half is bringing in the client, isn't it?
The rest is
the
now
acquisition.
serving them.
The rest
acquisition.
is serving
Yeah,
them
yeah.
to an extent that they will come back.
Yes.
If you're not retaining in this game, you're not in business. You've not even started. So 50% is acquiring.
And 50% is retention.
Yes.
Because I'm looking at it, like say for example, just the way you've worked so hard to get this customer to walk in and trust you with their laundry, then you disappoint them. That is total waste of your time and effort trying to get the client in the first place.
Absolutely.
So you're right. You're right. 50% getting them into your establishment and 50% retaining them.
Retaining them.
So both are equally important.
Very important. In
Yeah.
fact, some would argue you should even perhaps place more emphasis on the retention. Because if you're doing enough to retain them, they're probably talking about your service to other people.
To other people.
Yes, then you'll never run out of your sales funnel or your pipeline. So those ratios between acquisition and retention, super important.
So at this point, at branch number 3, are you paying yourself? Because Sam, even if I'm looking at it from somebody who's watching and they're looking to start this business, we are already in year 6. We've cut down all our expenses. If you had just gotten a child, they're now 6 years old.
Yes.
They're demanding
There's education,
school fees and all like you have demands from your just day-to-day life. How are you surviving?
You are surviving. This is Nairobi. You in the earlier session, I remember you and I got into lifestyle adjustment.
Yes.
You are being very intentional.
It's completely adjusted at this point.
And I suspect I completely concur with your guests who speak to your personality, you as an individual. Are you willing to scale back? Are you willing to actually say, I used to drive this car, but for now, this is not going to work. I'm driving this Maruti delivery van, and it will have to double up, not just as the client.
As the family vehicle
it
as
is
well.
It is the one that's dropping this girl you're talking about.
To school.
I have photos for school drops.
In
For
the
days.
Maruti?
Yes. And the good thing with
I'm sure
kids,
they're so cute.
the good thing with kids, they don't judge.
Yeah, actually, it looks like it's fun. It's a van.
They don't judge.
Yeah.
They're there, naughty, laughing. But to your specific question, you look at your top line, in our case, and you also have to make a conscious decision. If, for example, my sales monthly is 50,000 or 100,000, whatever the figure, if I take care of my basics, meaning your rent, your transport, your subsistence, are you prepared, whatever margin you're making over and above, are you prepared to plow it back into the business?
I see.
Yes.
I see.
To what extent are you prepared to plow it back?
Yeah.
Because what you'll also see across business owners is people have varying degrees of plowing back returns. And the more disciplined people, like the gentleman I described earlier, my mentor, that man lived a very lean life. Like he would show up at events and people are told, this is the person we were talking about. Very lean guy.
Yeah.
In terms of conspicuous spending, the car, the vehicle he drove, the places where he associated with, even when he wanted to socialize, he would go to very, very modest places. And you pick lessons through these examples. So similarly, you keep plowing back because at the time you're not thinking, this one location is what my goal was or my vision was. No. You're looking and saying, this is something, if it can empower this one attendant that I have, it can actually empower 10. It can empower 20.
It can empower 20. And now we are at 40. So basically, you're drawing only what is absolutely necessary.
Basic.
The very basic.
Basic.
I see. So referrals got you to branch 1, branch 1 to 3.
Yes.
It was more of location.
Yes.
And there was quite an expensive lesson with branch 2.
Yes.
How does that sort of transition to where you got to 15? And I'm looking at maybe the methods you used before when you were starting, and I'm trying to see how it could work, the same could work now. I think the society has evolved, technology has evolved. I'm also keen to see, let's say if you were, actually, do you know, opening a branch, even if it's the 14th, is almost equally as tasking as the first one, especially when it comes to bringing in traffic. Retention is a totally different conversation, but how would maybe that change? So my question to you is now 3 to 15, how that evolved, and if you were to start all over again from the Maruti, what are the tactics that maybe you could employ that would be different from like what you used before?
Okay. Location 1 allowed us certain things. Location 1 allowed us to take a step back and develop very brief paragraphs. Back then we were calling it how we do work, how we complete work. Formally, I'm told it's called standard operating procedures.
Yes.
But we would document and say every day, for a successful day to be observed or completed, these basic things must happen. On the admin side, we'd have the cleaning, the opening time, and so on and so forth. On the customer side, we would have the frequently asked questions. We knew most customers will come and ask for price. We'd have a way of inspecting those garments, and so on and so forth. So once we documented that, it allowed us to now say, for these kind of tasks, we can actually introduce another human being. And now we are getting into scaling and scaling your marketing. Because the way you do things will speak directly to your ability to sell. So if you sell by responding correctly to these questions, to these frequently asked questions, what you have been doing is exactly what your attendant will do. If you have been getting it wrong, even your attendant will get it wrong. So you want to have a brief summary of everything you do, and that now informs how you're going to set up location 2, location 3, location 4. Now, you've asked about how did we move from that to maybe beyond location 3. It is those sets of tasks.
Everything, how you do it, when you do it, and probably even the expected result, like it should be automatic. If you follow this process, this is what is expected.
Absolutely.
And then repeat every day.
With religious consistency. So if your day starts at 7, you don't show up at 7, you're there before 7.
You're there before
and you
7.
clean up. Yeah. To this day, that's the SOP that our head of HR applies. Of course, it's been enhanced through the years, but at the very basic level, that's what happens. We show up before 7, there are cleaning procedures. If the client comes, there is the way we greet them, there is the eye contact, all those small things that count. Because the customers are buying that experience.
Yeah.
And that's what allows them to say, I think I can recommend this to somebody else. Yes.
So basically, generally, if we were to summarize, your business has scaled through goodwill. Would you say?
What do you mean?
Like basically the goodwill of your clients.
Absolutely.
They refer you to.
Absolutely.
Like that's your lifeline.
Absolutely. And just chipping at what that word of mouth looks like. So I'll give you a few examples of some of the ways that we've identified this growth to occur. So remember, we walked away from flyers and outdoor advertising. We could even talk about, we experimented with city clocks. We had a big billboard, Toa Nguo Nakuja campaign that we did a while back. Very loud, very high on awareness.
I quite liked that. I think it was
awesome.
Cheeky. It was.
It had mad awareness. It had very good awareness. But back to our earlier point, conversion. All right. So we look at outdoor as outdoor, but now when it comes to organic, like getting an experience that pushes her to a point where she can tell her sister or her auntie, you may want to try these guys. I think that's where the magic happens. And to illustrate, if you ever check out any of our socials, you will find that we are very light on some of these promotions where you say, this month we have 10% off, or my name is Wanyoike, I do laundry. We do very little. In fact, we don't do that at all. We typically tend to engage, and I encourage your audience to test it out, not just in laundry, even in other business spaces, other industries. We typically try to tease out the voice of the customer. And if you can get even a satisfied customer, even better. Because they're speaking from a point of experience.
Yeah.
And that's why I liked, I think it was Charlene on your show who alluded to how her mother came on, would go to her comments and speak as if she has utilized the utilized the service.
The service, yeah.
We find that kind of reference or recommendation to be way more compelling. Because when you use the voice of the customer, essentially, technically what you're doing, Anne, is you're holding a mirror. You're holding a mirror in front of your prospects.
Yes.
You're showing them people who look exactly like them, who think like them.
Yes. Who would enjoy the same service.
Who would enjoy the same service.
Yeah.
So we tend to take that content, and from the satisfied clients who we have tried that with, two things happen. Number one, people might say, clients are not always willing to give you maybe a text message or a recording of a testimonial. And we have found that to be the exact opposite.
Yeah, I was going to ask that because when we talk about referrals, it could be an email, could be a text, could be a voice, could be a video like this one. How easy or hard is it for you to get a satisfied customer to give you a proper referral?
Super easy.
I don't know why, and maybe also my audience would agree. And this is probably, those things that stop us from doing certain things. Already the mind has told me, I don't think it would be easy. And so I don't try it. And
Super
I
easy.
never quite discover what's on the other side.
Super easy.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You don't ask, you don't get.
You don't ask, you don't get.
You don't ask, you don't get. So what we tend to see, for example, I remember 2 years ago, we had one of those campaigns. We have them periodically, where we will reach out to clients. And I'll tell you, we have been cleaning for you, and we were wondering if you'd be happy to put out a word on our behalf. Of course, you'll not get 100% positive response.
Yeah.
But a good number will tell you, yeah, sure. What do you need? Do you need a recording on my phone?
Yeah.
I drop it on your WhatsApp right now. Someone else will tell you, no, I'm super busy. Are you able to come to my house on Saturday at 7 a.m.? For a testimonial? Even if you tell me to come at 5 a.m.,
I'll come.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
So I'll come. We'll have a small, very makeshift recording setup. And you see, that's evergreen content. It's something that you can take, use, chop it up, repurpose.
Yeah, repurpose,
Yes.
Write it in text.
Absolutely. And it's not, the other piece about it, it's not scripted. We don't go there telling them, by the way, we'll come and talk. No.
This is what you say. No, you just let them.
Kindly give us your experience. When
Yeah.
you first went day one to the location, what was
Yeah.
your experience?
Okay. So let's talk about pricing. How has pricing reflected in your sales and marketing? Because your first sale, your pricing was, right? And I'm sure that has evolved, but how has it contributed to the scaling of the business?
Okay.
Yeah.
Price is huge. Price is a big conversation. I would summarize it this way. Within laundry, and I want to believe even amongst other businesses, we don't talk about price without talking about quality.
Value.
We actually talk about the price-value ratio.
Yes.
And for value to appear or to be perceived to be present, you have to take care of certain elements. So we talk about reliability. What is Anne's ability to deliver a defect-free experience? Meaning
Defect-free experience.
Yeah, meaning that experience, there were no mix-ups, the clothes didn't get lost, there were no stains, defect-free. Assurance. By assurance, we are talking product knowledge. If the client shows up at your branch, is your attendant aware? Anything that the client could ask. Heavy starch, light starch, product information, assurance. We talk about responsiveness. And responsiveness means if I text you, pick my laundry tomorrow, the client is not waiting for 2 hours for a response.
Yeah.
Or you promised it will be ready in the morning. The client is not calling you same day in the evening.
Yes.
That's responsiveness. We talk about empathy. You're going to treat my clothes the same way you treat your clothes.
Oh, wow.
And when you're hiring your staff, you have to tease out these attributes. They're actually psychometric questions for teasing out those attributes.
I see, because I mean, if clothes are just clothes, and I know there are people who are very particular about their clothes. And if that's your target market, the people who are serving them, you have to be careful about who
Empathy is a
serving.
big one. They have to put themselves
is
in the
so
shoe of,
interesting.
and I can't tell you the number of times, like, you'll take somebody's clothes. These are human beings, you're dealing with.
Yeah.
They're going through the normal life events that we go through. Some are bereaved. You could be cleaning a suit for somebody who wants to be buried in it. The person will be buried in it.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. So the person who has brought the suit is actually bereaved. And if that's a situation, your staff needs to be in a space where they can actually have a meaningful conversation with this person.
Yes. And you see, you don't know. So this has to be consistent for all customers who walk into your business, so that it's like, this is what is expected. So
Exactly.
that if you are dealing with somebody, let's say, who's bereaved,
Yes.
then you handle them with
Accordingly. They could not be. They may not be bringing. They may not be bringing the suit. They may be coming to pick clothes. A large pile of clothes. You've been sending reminders. Come pick your clothes. Come pick your clothes. Client, lady comes and says, the clothes belong to my late husband. That's why we've not been responding to.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm learning quite a bit about the laundry business.
So you cannot have an attendant who says, in a most insensitive, decides to just casually. No. First you have to set aside the issue of the clothes and first engage the human being who is in front of you.
Yes.
And condole with them. Get into their mind space. Even if that means having conversations about the deceased, the late person.
Yes.
And what your perception of them and the
and
positive.
It's such a delicate balance.
Very.
Because you're having this conversation, you're not sure if you're being intrusive or you should go there or there.
In sales, they call those moments of truth. Because if you're able to get to that emotional connect with your client at their lowest point, you're locked in.
You're locked in.
You're locked in.
Absolutely.
And the opposite is true. In situations where it's an extremely ecstatic situation. Say it's a wedding. Somebody drops her wedding gown. Anne could come with her wedding gown. And sorry, we are still on empathy.
Yes. Yes.
Anne comes with her wedding gown. And I've seen situations or laundries where wedding gowns are super stained. You know how they are. Sometimes you're somewhere in Red Hill,
yes,
red soil,
yeah.
It rains, there are wine stains, all kinds of stains.
Yes. Yes.
Then you bring the gown to the laundry. And of course, the attendant will look at it. That attendant has a choice based on their training.
Yes.
They could look at the garment and say, na ujue huku sio stain zote zinatokanga.
Yes. A can lose statement that completely.
And you're talking about this person's
biggest day yet. At that point, it's her most precious possession.
You could also look at the garment, and you're in awe of all the stains that are in that.
Yeah, you guys look like you had fun.
This looked like it was a heck of a wedding.
Yes.
How was it? And you'll do 10 minutes talking about the gown, and 2 minutes booking it and billing it. Yes. So empathy is big. Empathy is huge, huge, huge.
Wow.
Then the last one we talk about is tangibles. And the tangibles now are the physical environment. All right. So even on the platform, on the coaching platform, we coach business owners how to think about those elements and where to lay the most emphasis in terms of your investment. So tangibles has to do with how do you look as the attendant? Are you in uniform? Do you look presentable? Do you look like a custodian of the laundry business?
Yes.
Your shop, does it look orderly? When a client comes, does it take you 5 minutes to retrieve
to find
Yes.
their garment.
Yes, as they are waiting there.
Yeah.
And coming now, circling back to your question of price, our experience is if you lock in those 5 elements, and price is never in the conversation.
It's not an issue. That is, oh wow, that's really, really powerful. Yeah, so you have to lock in the value that you're offering your customer.
Absolutely.
So that then price is not a conversation.
They call it value-based pricing.
Value-based pricing.
And your client is rational. They know. When you're taking them for a ride, they will know. When you're cutting corners on the reliability, your clothes are creased or there are delays.
They know.
Yeah, they'll say, this does not match the price that you're charging.
Have you ever had an instance where you're tempted to charge a price lower, maybe in your earlier days, probably, to get more sales in? And so now that the sales are in, and you know when it comes to laundry, you're looking at bringing the conversion, the sale, but also retaining it. So when you bump up the price, then what happens? Have you had like those challenges?
We've had that. We've had a couple of that. We've had promotions. We normally say certain times of the year, we'll also try to discount certain items. So like, for example, during the warm season, like now, not very many people are cleaning their beddings. They normally stack them away until the cold season. So we'll have certain kinds of promotions. The other illustration that comes to mind, during COVID, when people were told to work from home, the dress code just...
Pajamas all day.
And our bankers, lawyers, accountants, they stopped sending their suits. Yes. So somebody sits behind a Zoom call with a shirt.
Yes.
And that's somebody who used to run around five towns in 1 week. Now, the work they were doing over a week, they are sitting one day behind a camera and doing it. So the work really dipped. But we said, even if they're working from home or remotely, they're still working. They're still dressed up.
They're dressed up.
So that moved our lens to now start focusing on that laundry basket in the house. And we also, we coach around how now do you perceive competition? Because you might just say the competitor is the person across the street. Your competitor is your mama fua. Your competitor is the laundry machine, the domestic laundry machine.
The domestic laundry machine.
Any solution that your prospect uses to get their clothes cleaned.
Yeah. If they're not coming to you, how are they getting
How
their
are they
garment?
getting it cleaned?
Yes.
How are they getting it cleaned?
That's your competition.
That's your competition. And you need to speak directly to counter that competition.
And you're not going to charge lower than a mama fua. So
you have to be really creative. Value-based pricing. For that illustration, somebody might ask, so how did you counter that? So we have these bag plans where the client can mix up different items in a bag. And they are charged one flat fee. And what we've tended to see through that experience is, as opposed to where you're charged per item, one t-shirt, one trouser, it is super, super expensive if you're charged per item. As opposed to when you're charged one flat rate for a bag load. So it's very, very popular. And it's also very, very popular amongst, you remember the category we spoke about called dealers? The people who, they don't have equipment, they don't have infrastructure, they just have a storefront.
Oh, I see.
They really like the bag plan because it allows them to take, they've charged their clients.
To take advantage of this bulk laundry that you will, they already know how much it's going to cost.
Absolutely.
So when they're charging...
That's very, very rich on retention. It's actually like a subscription.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Quite a lot of knowledge in terms of sales and marketing. If you were to do it again, let's say you're starting now. I don't think we got to that part. Let's say you're starting today, and you have me as your student. You're not starting. You're already very knowledgeable. I'm starting. What are like the key things you like guide me to start with when it comes to getting my sales going?
That first customer you picked up and they told you, I liked what you did, that customer is gold. Don't let them go. Ensure before you let them go, you have a conversation around a referral. And then build it up into a system. Meaning it's something that's recurring. And what happens is when you build it into a system, it now stops being about Anne placing those calls. Hi Leon, why can't you, are you able to send me 2-3 referrals? No. You've built it into a system that is able to operate without Anne. And I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
So today, we coach our staff. If a client comes the first time, say they drop off 2 duvets, when they pick it up, you want that conversation to go beyond the pickup.
The pickup.
So after they have left, you will find not just laundry, many, many businesses. Very few people will actually establish what was the experience. So we coach our staff somewhere 5 to 10 days to place a call. And they will call you, somebody will call you, and it's a voice call. It's not a WhatsApp message, it's not a text. It's not one of those generic, give us 5-star, 4-star, bulk SMS.
Phone call.
A human being.
Yeah.
So a human being reaches out and tells you, hi Anne, my name is Wanyoike, calling you from the laundry, and I know you're busy, but for a moment of your time, I just wanted to find out, how did we do?
Yeah.
Simple question.
Were you happy with our service?
How did we do? And within that call, you extract value at 3 levels. Now, number 1, not everybody will call you. So immediately it's a differentiator. The client is like, oh, these guys actually care.
Yes.
They don't just leave it at when they pick up their money. That's number 1. Number 2, if there was a gap, and like we said earlier, laundry, like any other business, there'll be issues. There'll be missed expectations.
Yes.
So if there's a gap, it's an early stage opportunity to
Yeah,
get
for
in
you
there
to fix it.
and plug it.
Yes.
And within that conversation, you'll hear clients saying, oh, I'm glad you called because the outfit you sent has one missing button after the cleaning. What's up with that? Or they mentioned the pressing was not
it's
as...
an opportunity for you to correct the
Exactly,
mistake.
exactly.
Yeah.
And remember, it's 5 to 10 days after the client has picked their order. So they've not made a conscious decision that I'm never going to
I'm
use
never
these people
going back
again.
there again. Yes.
They're still in that state.
Yeah.
So when you go in, we coach our staff, you plug the gap, you tender an authentic apology, and if it's something that can be reversed or fixed, you want to do it right there,
Right there and
at our cost. So you tell them, I'm sorry about
I'm so
that.
sorry.
I'll have a rider there in half an hour or something like that. Okay? And we find if you resolve the issue at that first visit,
They appreciate more. Like your relationship is now locked.
the retention is
Higher.
locked. Is locked. The third level of value, which I think is most critical, if the service went well, now this is 80-90% of your visitors, they'll be raving. They'll pick up that call and they're like, I'm so glad you called. Mzee can't stop talking about his shirts. He says they look as good as new.
Yeah.
Madam couldn't wait to jump into her outfit. In fact, we were saying we'll drop off some more stuff next
Yes.
week. Now, at that point when
that's
they are
when-
raving, that's when Anne or whichever brand you want to get in there and ask for a referral.
Ask for a referral.
And we coach, we insist, let's drop the generalities. That thing of send me your friends, send me your crew, your girls.
Yeah.
You want to go in with a very specific ask. So by the time I'm placing that call, I'm ready with my flyer in soft copy, not printed, not 1,000 printed. A soft flyer with the services that we offer complete with the contact. It's ready on WhatsApp, ready to go. So I'll call you at that point when you're raving, I'll let you complete what you're saying. I'll tell you, thank you very much, Anne, for those kind words. It's very kind of you to share. Would you be so kind to share our information on your family group, on your estate group, on your alumni group? And the effect of this is now you're taking your brand from 1 to 15 to 30 and so on and so forth.
Oh, I see.
And numbers don't lie, Anne. You're a numbers person. Numbers don't lie.
Yes.
5, maybe 6 out of every 10 requests, they will not only take your information, they will paste it exactly where you asked, and they'll even add a caption.
Yes.
In their own
in their own words.
in their own slang.
Oh, wow.
The kind of language that you and I cannot place on a billboard.
I see.
And that's why you had me, I think, before we hit record, you had me asking you, when you do your interview, I
Yes.
think I'm the most appropriate person to recommend to to somebody,
that's
another
my
guest,
second guest, yes.
as opposed to the other generic
1000%.
channels. And from experience, we have found that to drive word of mouth way faster and at scale. Because this is something you can coach at one location, you can even coach it at 10 locations. Yeah. So for your audience who are thinking around, how do I leverage the voice of the customer? Those are simple, cost-effective ways of doing it.
And it's so simple. Not complex at all. It's something, if you are seated and your laundry business is struggling with sales, this is something you can implement as soon as tonight. Which I think
I challenge your audience. Yes, when I go on my Instagram and my Facebook, I will say, yes, my shirts I'm charging 200 or 50 shillings lower than the competition. It's fine, it's marketing. But when your customer comes on and says, I don't normally have a live-in house girl, this is my situation, these people come in and this is how they behave with my clothes, it's a completely different conversation.
Yeah.
We have a gentleman, if you go to our website, there's a gentleman who speaks there very articulately.
Yeah.
He's a senior government official. He talks, and it's unscripted.
It's unscripted.
He says, when I walk, people ask me, you're so neat, you're so smart.
Yes.
Who does your laundry?
Who does your laundry?
And he'll bring them over to one of our locations, sometimes
Yeah.
Milimani, sometimes Kilimani. He'll bring them there. And that's the point I'm telling you now, you as the brand owner, as the business
a happy
owner.
customer is the best form of marketing.
Totally. So it's your job, it's on you as the business owner to set up a system that allows that word of mouth to move.
That amplifies that
yes,
word of
absolutely.
mouth. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
trying
In a
to
cost-effective way.
In a cost-effective way.
Yes.
That's like cheap. Zero acquisition cost. Well, I'm sure there's a
Because you did the heavy lifting earlier.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is a very minimal cost.
Yes. Yes.
Oh wow, that is. I have learned quite a bit. If I were to start a laundry business today, I am wiser than I was before we start for this conversation. So I don't think it would be fair of me to round up the conversation before I ask you about, you've mentioned it several times about your workshop, your courses and your coaching. If there's somebody who's listening and they are wondering, I like Sam, he looks like he can guide me, he's my person to guide me to Canaan. Could you just give us a brief of, if that audience, there's someone in the audience who's like wondering and maybe on the fence about, okay, do I engage, do I not? Would it serve me, would it not? Like, what's the expectation? Should they sign up for any of your courses?
Okay.
What does that look like? How do you deliver it? Is it in person? Is it virtual? What's the curriculum sort of looking like?
Okay.
How does it?
Okay. So the learning platform came about maybe 3-4 years ago, as far as the concept is concerned. And it came about mainly from requests from friends and family. It always starts with friends and family. So people come and they see your journey and they tell you, I have a niece, instead of staying at home, I want her to get into this business. And they would come, we would sit with them, we would guide them on how to choose location and so on and so forth. Then those requests became 2 a week, 5 a week. It became practically difficult now to do our regular work. So we said, no, this information appears to be valuable to people. How about we put out a tool that is of...
Structure it.
Structure it, give it some structure. So we got in there, we did lectures, we recorded quite a number of lectures in all the topics, some of which we have covered. I know we've covered capital, we've covered sales and marketing. There are also a lot of questions around hiring. How do you select equipment? Which brands are better than which? What kind of technology do you deploy?
Processes, systems.
Yeah, processes, systems. So we got all that baked into a structure. And we launched that approximately a year ago. So we have content that is virtual. It's split up into 3 courses. And I can share with you the link. Maybe you can share it on your show notes.
Yes, I'll in the description. I'll put
so the participant is able to go pick up which course they are interested in, depending on how deep they want to engage with the platform. And then, aside from the virtual content, as it went along, sometime last year, Participants came back and said, okay, fine, the content is amazing. We love it. In fact, so far, including existing businesses, they said it has helped me move from this point to this point. But now, I want an immersive experience. I want an immersive experience to the extent, if you talk about your factory or your setting, I want to physically come there. I want to see how you've arranged the workflow, how you move from the...
So like coming to your business?
In person.
In person?
In person.
Like experiencing...
a real laundry ecosystem, commercial laundry. So we developed a course that's 5-day. And because you'll never find business owners for 5 consecutive days,
true.
we've staggered it into 5 weeks. So you only come once a week.
Once a week.
And you also get, it's flexible. You also get to pick whether you come on a Monday or a Saturday.
I see.
Depending on how you're placed.
Yeah.
So day 1, factory. Nothing else.
Nothing else.
So you're there with the team leader, you engage, you interrogate the process, all that. Day 2, hiring. So that's with our head of HR. You get into matters hiring, all those attributes we described for quality and for scaling and SOPs. That's day 2. Contracts, day 2. Day 3, customer success. So you are assigned to one of our busier locations. You get to see the ins and outs of customer interactions, their complaints, their compliments, all that good stuff.
All that, yeah.
Day 4 and 5, now I step in. And now there I get involved with how do you now move from 0 to 1.
More like strategy.
How do you think around, how do you leverage automation to move from location 1 to 5? If you have started hiring 2-3 people, how do you isolate for your team leadership?
Yeah.
Because you'll not do this alone.
Yes.
If I didn't have the able team that I have, because I have very competent people.
You wouldn't be seated here.
We will not be here. We will not be having this conversation.
Yes.
Yeah. So and I credit them for actually a big part of the scaling up. Because there are men and women across HR, the technical, the customer success, who have allowed that scale to happen. And it is through them that we are able to push the vision.
I have to commend you, because it being a service, it means people is your biggest headache, I would say, and also asset. And if you've gotten that right, then, I mean, that's half the battle won.
The organizations rise and fall with their people. Yeah, actually, some people, when people come on the platform, they ask, they say, I can't wait for first session when I'm in the factory. Then by the time they're in session 2, they're hiring one. They're like, this is the session.
This is the session.
This
is more important. It's more.
This is the session.
Because you're offering a service, and the service is being offered by other human beings.
Absolutely.
So how do you see, if you're baking a cake, it's just ingredients. If you weigh them and you follow the process, the cake will be consistent. You will produce the same exact carrot cake over and over. When it's people.
There's a participant who came on 2 days ago and asked on the consultation on the platform, and they asked, how do you interview for integrity? How do you make sure somebody will not run away with a client's suit?
Oh my God, has that ever happened?
I told them there's a bigger problem than the client's suit being stolen. That attendant can also find something inside the pocket that is more valuable than this suit.
Oh, and go home with it.
And the client calls you and tells you, hi Ann, I just dropped something an hour ago. Just tell your attendant to keep that 50K for me. I'll pick it up on my way home. Then say you call the branch, the attendant tells you, which 50K are you talking about?
Oh my gosh. HR.
And we had a long conversation around HR and how you interview them, how you leverage technology, how you reward integrity, because it's also a big part of it. Yes, you also have to master how
you drive accountability.
Yes, and you have to recognize it and reward it.
Yeah.
So that the rest of the team appreciates this is the cultural direction.
Yeah. Building. Now guys, I don't know about you, but I have gained a ton of knowledge from this conversation with Sam. Sam, thank you so much. This has been so wholesome, and I can't wait to air it because I know it will be wholesome for you as well. And before I wrap up, maybe Sam, you have some last words. Where can we find you? I'm sure many will want to reach out to you personally. Thank you.
And first of all, even just for being gracious to have me on your show. feel honored and privileged. I have a profound respect for the work that you're doing for business in this country and beyond. I've also seen the kind of visitors you've attracted, and it just gave me the confidence to feel this is something I would want to give back into. As far as the work that we are doing is concerned, I would encourage your audience. Feel encouraged. If you're starting and thinking obstacles, sales and marketing, there's always help at hand.
Yes.
There's always help at hand. And it's not like 20 years ago when we were starting. There would be a lot of gatekeeping, people withholding information, people thinking you are competition. Today it's different. You have the internet, you have learning platforms like what we are talking about. So I encourage folks to just keep chipping at it. As far as our content is concerned, the laundry is allmylaundry.com. The learning platform is laundrybusinesslearning.com. And then we are out there in the socials. You catch me on LinkedIn, you catch me on Insta, and you're welcome to share.
Definitely. I'll share contacts. Leon will put the contacts on the screen and also in the description box, and you can reach out to Sam for any support that you might need as far as starting and growing successfully. Remember, we're not just starting, we're growing successfully a laundry business. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. We absolutely enjoyed this conversation. Sam has also gifted us 5 tickets, and I am willing to gift. How do I do this?
Just
What
put it
menu
out there.
can I use?
What criteria?
Yeah.
And it's your platform.
I had not thought
You
about
sell it. You sell it. I don't know. The first one to DM, I don't know. We can put out a quiz. Yeah.
Yeah.
Based on the content. Yeah.
Based on the content. Okay. So please leave us a comment in the comment section. If you want Sam to come back, let me know. I think that invitation is open, Sam, and we can answer some of the questions you might have as far as starting and growing a laundry business success.
Is the audience allowed to tell you if they don't want me to come back?
If you don't want Sam to come back,
it's
unless you're crazy.
It's feedback.
Unless you're crazy,
It's
because
also
this
feedback.
was so valuable.
Thank you, Anne.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I hope this conversation just gave you just a little bit more courage to pursue that idea, fail forward and achieve your dreams. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.